Welcome. Thank you for watching. This is a research presentation accepted for the online thread of AsiaTEFL's 2023 International Conference on the reflections on the past, examinations of the present, and anticipation of the future of English language teaching in Asia. My name is Maria Lisak. I'm a lifetime member of AsiaTEFL and teach at a university in the southwestern part of South Korea. I would like to express my thanks to AsiaTEFL for making this hybrid conference possible, especially as I have mobility issues and participating in face-to-face conferences only would have prevented me from participating. I additionally thank the city of Gwangju in South Korea, where I have lived and worked for 20 years, for its historical legacy of engaging outsiders and exiles into the active engagement of the itinerant scholar, which I relate to and I feel resonates with the ELT communities of the world. I'm also grateful to Chosun University, where this presentation is recorded for its over 70 years of support of educational opportunities in the Gwangju area. While you can read the abstract in online materials, I will share it here as well to get us focused. This presentation is titled Mascots, Mottos, Manifestos, and Missions, Multiliteracies, Pedagogy, and Multimodal Activities. And I have a little video of the Muppets, because I love my M words. The abstract begins class activities where students are welcome to express their ideas and identity through management branding products such as mascots, mottos, and mission statements help learners hone their visual storytelling skills and control their public persona narrative. Multimodal stories and images help learners envision their future in multilingual Asian contexts. In this presentation, Korean university students studying welfare in English reflect on the use of goal-focused artifacts created in class and how they apply to real-world problems in public administration. While learners are often on their devices, using them for educational purposes needs scaffolding and explicit instruction. Multiliteracies is a robust pedagogy to empower learners to retain autonomy in face-to-face and online spaces. Multimodal lesson plans and student work are shared to showcase multiliteracy pedagogy for situated practice, overt instruction, critical framing, and transform practices. Lesson plans demonstrate how to foster a critical frame for storytelling using visual and textual messaging. Student work speaks to the transformation learners experience by thoughtfully crafting visual stories and anticipating how mission statements and mottos coalesce community goals into action. This paper is helpful to educators who want to make safe spaces for multimodal explorations that tap into learners' digital and critical literacies. This has been submitted for methodologies and teaching approaches strand for the conference. Today, I will cover the beginnings of a case study. I will introduce the conceptual framework, my data collection, and an initial analysis of the data within the Multiliteracies pedagogic framework. Literacies, pedagogy, teacher lesson plans, student work, and the 4 aspects of multiliteracy pedagogy will be covered. Multiliteracies is a robust pedagogy that relies on critical literacies evidenced in learners' experience within, against, and outside of the classroom. Situated practice, a key aspect of this pedagogy, combines learners' funds of knowledge with the planned goals and outcomes of the curriculum. Overt instruction, another element of the multiliteracies method, works with learners' zone of proximity to scaffold learners to achieve independently. Learners' sociocultural agency and power are welcome to foster critical frames to analyze self, curriculum goals, and real-world application of classroom learning. Multiliteracy pedagogy also centers learners to actively transfer learned language or content information to real-world contexts and applications. Multiliteracy's situated practice involves applying multiliteracies in real-life contexts, engaging students in meaningful learner experiences that connect their literacy practices to authentic situations and purposes, emphasizing the importance of relevant and situated learning contexts over isolated or abstract settings. In multiliteracies, situated practice, students actively participate and interact with various text, media, and communication modes in specific and social cultural environments, aiming to develop their literacy skills and competencies through immersive and authentic experiences that align with real-world literacy use and value. Here are a few aspects of situated practice. Contextualized learning. Students actively participate in authentic and contextually rich literacy practices, such as analyzing and creating text relevant to their local community, workplace, or personal interests, enabling them to establish meaningful connections between their skills and the world around them. Community and social interaction. Situated practice highlights the significance of social interaction and collaboration as students work collectively in groups or engage with external communities to explore, analyze, and create texts and media, fostering the development of social and communicative skills, the ability to negotiate meaning, and learning from diverse perspectives. Students are encouraged to engage in reflective practice, contemplating the evolution of their skills, knowledge, and strategies as they interact with various texts and media in situated contexts, fostering self-awareness, critical thinking, and metacognitive abilities, ultimately empowering them to transfer their literary skills to new situations. Authentic assessment advocates for assessments to be aligned with real-world literacy demands, evaluating students' application of literary skills in meaningful ways with specific contexts through methods such as performance-based assessments, portfolios, multimedia presentations, or projects, showcasing their understanding and utilization of multiliteracies. Additionally, situated practices focuses on cultural and linguistic diversity of the background of students, recognizing that literacy practices are shaped by cultural norms, languages, and social contexts, and consequently supports the inclusive integration of students' cultural and linguistic resources into their literacy learning, fostering a sense of identity and belonging. Incorporating multiliteracies into situated practice empowers students to become effective communicators, bridging the gap between academic and practical learning skills. Multiliteracies overt instruction refers to explicit teaching and instruction of these skills and strategies in a structured and systematic manner. It involves directly and intentionally guiding students through the processes and conventions of various forms of literacy, such as print, visual, digital, and oral communication. In overt instruction, teachers provide clear explanations, modeling, and demonstrations of the skills, strategies, and students need to become proficient in different literacies. The instruction is explicit, breaking down complex tasks into manageable steps and highlighting the underlying processes involved. Skill demonstration teachers explicitly demonstrate the skills and strategies students need to develop. They may model how to analyze a visual text, critically evaluate digital information, or compose a multimodal presentation. By observing the teacher's thought process and actions, students gain a clear understanding of how to approach and engage with different practices. Explicit instruction. The teachers provide step-by-step explanations, instructions for each skill or strategy. They make an underlying process and convention transparent to the students, helping them to understand the purpose, structure, and techniques. Teachers may use explicit language, visual aids, and examples to support students' comprehension and application of the concepts being taught. Students engage in guided practice under the teacher's supervision and support. They have opportunities to apply skills and strategies they have learned in a scaffolded and structured manner. The teacher provides feedback, clarifies misconceptions, and offers guidance as students practice and refine their skills. A gradual release of responsibility is also part of overt instruction. As students gain proficiency, the teacher gradually releases responsibility to them. Students move from guided practice to independent practice, where they apply their skills autonomously. The teacher continues to provide support and feedback as needed, but students take increasing ownership of their learning and application of multiliteracies. Reflection and metacognition. In overt instruction, it promotes reflection and metacognitive awareness. Students are encouraged to reflect on their learning processes, identify their strengths and areas for improvement, and monitor their own progress. This reflection enhances students' ability to transfer their multiliteracy skills to different contexts and adapt their strategies as needed. Overt instruction aims to equip students with the explicit knowledge, skills, and strategies required to effectively navigate today's complex and diverse communication landscape. By providing systematic and explicit instruction, educators empower students to become critical thinkers, active learners, and proficient users of multiliteracies, which brings us to our next aspect, critical framing. Critical framing refers to an analytical approach that encourages students to critically examine and interpret text and media through a social and cultural lens. It involves analyzing text and media in relation to power dynamics, social context, and ideological perspectives. Critical framing aims to develop students' critical thinking, critical literacy, and critical awareness of the broader social, cultural, and political implications embedded within text and media. Students are encouraged to explore how power and ideology are constructed and represented in text and media. They examine how different social groups are portrayed, how dominant discourses shape meaning, and how certain perspectives are privileged or marginalized. Critical framing prompts students to question and challenge the underlying assumptions and biases embedded in text and media. Critical framing emphasizes the importance of considering the social and cultural contexts in which text and media are created and consumed. Students explore text and media by influenced by social, historical, and cultural factors. They analyze how audience, purpose, and context shape the meaning and interpretation of text. By understanding the context, students gain insight into how meaning is constructed and negotiated. Students are encouraged to seek out and consider multiple perspectives and voices within text and media. They explore diverse sources of information, including alternative viewpoints and marginalized voices. Critical framing promotes the understanding that text and media can be contested and open to interpretation, and that multiple viewpoints contribute to a richer understanding of complex issues. Critical framing fosters reflection and dialogue among students. They are encouraged to engage in discussions and debates that challenge their own assumptions and perspective. Reflective activities help students develop a critical stance and become aware of their own bias and belief. Through dialogue, students learn to respect diverse viewpoints and develop their argumentation and persuasive skills. Critical framing encourages students to consider how their critical analysis can lead to action and agency. Students explore ways to address social issues, challenging injustices, and advocate for change through their own texts, media creation, and civic engagement. The framework empowers students to recognize their role as active participants in shaping and transforming their social, cultural, and political environments. Critical framing enhances students' critical literacy skills, enabling them to navigate and understand text and media in a more informed and critical manner. By developing their skill and analysis, students become more active, engaged, and responsible consumers and producers of information in today's complex and interconnected world. In transformed practices, they refer to the application of multiliteracies principles and strategies in educational settings that go beyond the traditional approaches to literacy instruction. It involves a transformative shift in teaching and learning practices to better align with the demands and opportunities of a rapidly changing digital and information-rich society. Transformed practices integrate a wide range of literacies beyond the traditional print-based literacy. This includes visual, digital, media, critical, and cultural literacy, among others. The focus is on developing students' abilities to understand, analyze, and produce texts and media across multiple modes and formats. Transformed practices emphasize the creation and interpretation of multimodal texts that combine different modes of communication, such as image, sound, video, and text. Students engage in authentic and meaningful learning experiences that connect to their real-life context, promoting relevance and application of their literacy skills. Transformed practices prioritize student engagement and active learning. Students become active participants in their own learning, collaborating with peers, and taking ownership of their literacy development. They have opportunities to explore, experiment, and problem solve in the authentic and inquiry-based learning environment. Transformed practices foster critical thinking and metacognitive skills. Students develop the ability to question, analyze, and evaluate text and media critically. They learn to reflect on their own thinking process and become aware of their own biases, assumptions, and cultural perspectives. Metacognition is nurtured through the reflection, self-assessment, and goal setting. Transformed practices encourage collaboration, both within the classroom and beyond. Students work collaboratively on projects, engaging in peer feedback and constructive discussions. They also learn about responsible digital citizenship and understanding the ethical and social implications of digital communication and media use. Transformed practices recognize and value cultural, linguistic, and diverse backgrounds of students. Culturally responsive pedagogy is integrated to honor students' identities, language, and experiences. Inclusive practices ensure that all students have equitable access to literacy learning opportunities. Transformed practices require continuous professional development for educators to stay abreast of learning literacies, technologies, and pedagogical approaches. Educators engage in ongoing learning and collaboration to enhance their own multiliteracy skills and effectively implement transformed practices in their classrooms. By embracing multiliteracies, transformed practices, educators can better equip students with skills, knowledge, and dispositions needed to thrive in a complex and interconnected world. These practices empower students to be critical thinkers, active participants, and proficient communicators in a variety of literacies and media forms. Let's move now to the data sources for this study. Web quests of governments, nonprofits, and organizations were assigned for learners to investigate, to find different mascots, mottos, mission statements, and vision statements. They were then encouraged to use these WebQuest discoveries to design their own mascots, mottos, missions, and visions with activities like value shields, dream jobs, identity posters. Organizing activities and deliverables for imagined organizations as well. Let's move now to some of the data collected as student work. This slide presents a few examples of student work from our lessons. Multimodal student work includes hand-drawn mascots, which are utilized within several lessons, like superhero powers, web quests, and posters. PowerPoint presentations, where students work as consultants for NPOs or government agencies, like district offices, to analyze websites for missions and organizational hierarchies, as well as programs and projects. Posters act as mini proposals to get them to think about campaigns, contests, or projects for specific public audience, like an Earth Day program at our university. Videos are used to rehearse presentations for lessons on student introductions, which focus on themselves as entrepreneurs, doing brand building for their dream jobs. Infographics are great for group work to coalesce and present statistics visually that they have researched about welfare administration topics like a single parent family. Let's move now to the 4 aspects and how they can help analyze these different data sources. This presentation organizes teacher lesson plans and student work into 4 aspects of multiliteracies pedagogy as follows. Situated practice is given from the structure and system of the university and the department as we study a content area. So we study administration, welfare, and English. Web quests are helpful to look at real-world artifacts of administration welfare. Contests and campaigns. One moment, please. Are also common projects by NPOs and government agencies, lending an opportunity to practice administration welfare. Overt instruction can be analyzed from the lesson plans and examples like the web quests. And pedagogy can be analyzed by looking for skill demonstration, like the demonstrations, explicit instruction, which is both spoken and written, guided practice, whether it's in class or messaging through Kakao Talk outside of class. Gradual release of responsibility can be assessed by the predictability of the lesson plan organization, and the reflection and metacognition of overt instruction can be assessed from weekly, midterm, and final student work outcomes and the lesson plan instructions themselves. Critical social framing. Social welfare applications provide for this naturally and require learners to look at the sociocultural environment of themselves, the neighborhoods, and Korea. Social entrepreneurship lessons give learners a chance to work on projects while also applying their emergent public administration code of ethics and practice of civil care. Transformed practices can be mined from the students' reflections on usefulness of the course. I have chosen 3 examples of learners positing future application of content and experiences from our studies. Student 1 said, by learning about global welfare and administrative factors, I was able to understand what issues I should think of in the future. And it was an opportunity to think that I should work hard to create better ideas in the future. Student 2 shared, classes in other majors have a lot to learn about the theory of public administration. However, Professor Maria's class teach about administration in our daily lives, so we can actively participate in classes and get useful information. I also think I will be able to put things I have learned to good use in the future. Student 3 shares, in the future, there are multicultural families in Korea more than before, and I want to be an educational administrative official who distributes notices about schools to students later. Therefore, in the future, a considerable number of students' parents may be foreigners. I have taken a class about administration in English, so I believe that I will be able to explain administration better in English than others and respond more comfortably to the parents. The next steps are to complete the study after I make some decisions on how to operationalize analysis of situated practice. This will then be written up into a case study on the use of multiliteracies pedagogy for content instruction in Korean higher education. Some key things found so far include situated practice is regularly fostered, but has it been successful? I need to find some examples from my teacher journal about what worked and what didn't, and further triangulate and analyze. Overt instruction may seem like overkill and decreases the opportunity for learners to achieve things independently. But within a non-native class, this can address fossilized practices. It can talk back to attitude negatives, such as an English only as a test score being important, as well as to teach students immediate needs instead of institutionalizing them into pre-existing prescriptions for EFL learners. Critical framing has also been a long-term goal of mine through my social justice practices. Seeing how multimodality and multiple perspectives are intuitively linked to multiple literacies is a natural extension and honing of my pedagogical approach. There are several other studies I am doing on cosmopolitan literacies that analyze this approach. Transformed practices are key for social justice pedagogy, but also for the learners to utilize this multimodal messaging for their future selves and future jobs. The natural application of learned literacies in this course segues with existing literacies in a way for the learners to be able to articulate the relevance of their performance to emergent opportunities within their job field. Finding out if learners see the underlying rationale to lessons can be assessed in learners' reflective assessments. To discuss this further, multiliteracies is a chance to tap into both the learners, what they know already, and how to make their messages even better. Looking at different aspects of multiliteracies helps the teacher to realize what is not working in a lesson plan and needs improvement. In the Korean context, where standardized testing is a paradigm of domination, helping students to control their own development and use of English is an empowering process that draws on their social cultural strengths. Students' multiliteracies in the Korean context are quite often cosmopolitan in nature, as they must cross cultural boundaries both visually and linguistically. These 4 aspects have now been extended to other cognitive frames, which are not covered in this study. To summarize, often textbooks and learning materials are used for meaning making without a proper critical frame to analyze the stereotypes that are being propagated. By letting learners look at examples, question them, create their own examples, share them collaboratively, as well as do peer evaluation, the students are able to take scaffolding attempts, crowdsource information, and project into their immediate classroom experience, and then perform as well as plan for future real-life experiences. The teacher researcher, myself, will continue to revise my class plans to address world issues in administration welfare, while also welcoming learners to share their immediate interests and concerns as part of their projection of welfare needs into the institutional methodologies they will be studying. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I can be reached at gwangjumaria@yahoo.com. And here are some of the resources that influenced my study.